Well, morning to you, Felicity. Happy 61st Independence Day to you and to every Nigerian.
All right,
yes,
good morning.
Indeed. I mean, what's your reaction to the comments that the guests this morning have submitted?
Well, I mean, a lot of us watched the speech from the moment it was on the go, and we listened to the entire thing, which you have also analyzed, and we are also going to be analyzing on the show later today.
All right, over to you now. And thank you very much for sticking with me. After them, there is more. So stick with News Central on Nigeria's Independence Day special. Thank you.
All right, so you're still watching News Central. And yes, we have to say happy Independence Day, 61st to every Nigerian, and to you, to Oluchi, looking very, what can I say, patriotic this morning.
Thank you so much. And I like your white-green combination.
Well, we can't shout now. We can't carry last. All right, thank you very much, Felicity. And to her guests to really analyze and break down the speech given by President Muhammadu Buhari, which started at 7 a.m. this morning, a 36-minute speech given by the president. And there's more to come right here on Breakfast Central on News Central.
All right, and we will be going straight to the person who created the Nigerian flag as we know it today. We're talking about Taiwo Akinkunmi. Let's watch this.
The Nigerian flag, designed in 1959, was first officially hoisted on 1st of October 1960, the day Nigeria got her independence from the British colonial masters. The flag has 3 vertical bands of green and white colors. The green representing agriculture and Nigeria's natural wealth, while the white symbolizes peace and unity. In celebrating Nigeria's 61st independence anniversary, News Central TV crew took a trip to Ibadan behind the design of the Nigerian identity. Now at 85 and deterred in speech, Pi Michael Taiwo Akinkunmi, an officer of the Order of the Federal Republic, OFR, was only 23 when he gave Nigeria its national symbol, the green and white flag, in a competition held 62 years ago.
I was studying overseas.
Akinkunmi revealed he was a student at Norwich Technical College in London, England, when he saw an advertisement in a newspaper that submissions were being accepted for the design of a new national flag for Nigeria.
It was announced, this way and that way, that a flag will have to be designed to mark the celebration of the independence of the country. And people tried to get things ready.
As Nigeria celebrates her 61st independence, the elder statesman wished Nigeria well and encouraged Nigerians to be patriotic and abide by the ideals of the founding fathers.
My prayer for the country is that things go on well, I may say, in the daily activities of the nationals.
Though with a simple outlook, the Nigerian flag is a symbol of not only Nigeria's dignity of labor, creativity, perseverance and justice, but of equity and freedom from colonialism. Rita Omodia, reporting for News Central.
October 1st, 1960, Nigeria proclaimed independence from British rule. Now, each year, this day is commemorated with celebrations across all sectors in Nigeria. On Breakfast Central, we join millions of Nigerians to look at the current state of the nation, its economy, and security challenges. This is Breakfast Central.
as our economy continues to open after COVID-19 related lockdowns, we have also seen the resurgence of insecurity in certain parts of the country. In the last 4 months, the gallant men and women of the military and security agencies have made tremendous progress in addressing these new security challenges. We are taking the fight to our enemies from all angles, and we are winning. Earlier this year, I launched the Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, the Deep Blue Project, which is designed to secure Nigerian waters up to the Gulf of Guinea. I am happy to inform Nigerians that we have taken delivery of key assets for this project, and very soon its impact will be felt. In the northeast region alone, over 8,000 Boko Haram terrorists have surrendered. To support our surge approach to fighting banditry, the Nigerian Armed Forces
As Nigeria marks her 61st independence, many questions arise concerning the state of governance, economic growth, insecurity challenges, and the vast achievements under the current democratic leader, Muhammadu Buhari.
Well, on Breakfast Central today, we are joined to discuss the roadmap to securing the nation this morning. Well, Dennis Amakri, security expert, joined us alongside Confidence Makari, also a security expert on Breakfast Central today.
Also joining us on the program to discuss the economic growth of the nation is Collins Owenke, global affairs analyst, and Gospel Obele, who is an economist.
Watching Breakfast Central on News Central, and happy Independence Day once again to Nigeria. 61st, we are still waxing strong and still here. Well, as Nigerians celebrate 61, the act of terrorism and general insecurity situations require that solutions be sought to safeguard the nation. In his national address this morning, the number one citizen of the country, President Muhammadu Buhari, had this to say.
Fellow Nigerians, as our economy continues to open after COVID-19 related lockdowns, we have also seen the resurgence of insecurity in certain parts of the country. In the last 4 months, the gallant men and women of the military and security agencies have made tremendous progress in addressing these new security challenges. We are taking the fight to our enemies from all angles, and we are winning. Earlier this year, I launched the Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, the Deep Blue Project, which is designed to secure Nigerian waters up to the Gulf of Guinea. I am happy to inform Nigerians that we have taken delivery of key assets for this project, and very soon its impact will be felt. In the northeast region alone, over 8,000 Boko Haram terrorists have surrendered. To support our surge approach to fighting banditry, the Nigerian Armed Forces have recruited over...
All right, so that speech from the president this morning, which really focused on insecurity. Now we have our guest this morning, Dennis Amakri, security expert, and Confidence Makari. Now, gentlemen, at 61 years after independence, there is an increase in youth restiveness. What interventions can the government put in place to arrest this? But first of all, I'm starting with you, Dennis. What did you make of President Buhari's speech?
Well, thank you very much for having me. The president has made a speech. I think we've heard these speeches many times, but there was an optimistic note to it where he said that about 8,000 Boko Haram militants have surrendered. And I think that is very significant. Significant in the sense that we have got 8,000 surrendering. Now, that figure to me is really very high because I didn't know that Boko Haram had an army of 8,000, more than 8,000 people, fighting the Nigerian army. So, well, if 8,000 has surrendered and we still have people there, then I should strongly believe that we should be able to run over the remaining ones because I don't think they are up to 8,000 again in the bush. Well, this is a good news that we've heard, and maybe it will give us or show the light towards the end of this insurgency.
All right, coming to you, Confidence. Following Buhari's speech, which you all just heard this morning, as Nigerians, will you share that sentiment with Mr. Dennis, that optimistic tone, as is put it from President Buhari's speech?
I certainly do not, because given the speech that some people, terrorists in the Northeast have surrendered, I think it goes beyond numbers. A report released by the new humanitarian about sometime like revealed that the number of people that affecting to the Nigerian side were not really who actually was the Boko Haram, but players who are tired of living under Boko Haram control and would rather not live under the Islamic special approach. The special group that has now taken over the proceedings in the Northeast. And if, for one thing, you round 1,000 terror, according to President in Zamfara State alone, we have more than 25,000 in Zamfara State, according to some estimates. To talk about other states in the region, Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, and spilling over to the North Central, we've seen terror activity. And so it is one thing to make a lot of protection of terrorists and everything, but one key thing to note, if you're going to seek them stay, which was constantly the evidences of terrorism, it's important.
Right.
All right.
Right. I mean, we're gentlemen. We've all listened to this speech. I mean, it's quite fresh, and we have seen other countries name and publish sponsors of terrorist group. Is this not a good way to go? Looking at the fact that at 61 years, terrorists have topped as the country's biggest challenge. Amakri, I'll start with you.
Missed some of your question. Could you repeat that again?
Now, we're looking at other countries who have named and published names of terrorist groups. We're asking if this is not the way we should go, looking at the fact that at 61 years, terrorists have topped as the country's biggest challenge.
Yeah, okay, yes. We are fighting a terrorist war. It is a war that has taken over the world, actually, and we're just part of it because we have to situate this particular threat that is facing the whole world, starting from 9/11 in the United States of America, where the Twin Towers were bombed, and then of course the terrorist threat has spread all over the world. Now we have been involved, and then of course we never approached it initially as a big threat that we should crush. I remember very well when we had the Boko Haram insurgency starting in the Northeast at that time. And then, of course, they were also attacking and burning down villages and stuff like that. But when you look at it at that time, we were trying to play kids' glove with it. Some people even believe that but Boko Haram will never spread, and of course, they are just some people trying to disturb the whole country. But by the time they start kidnapping and killing and all the rest, I think we took it very, very seriously. And now we've had real financiers. Of course, there is no way that a terrorist organization will continue for more than 10 years, even more than a year, without somebody sponsoring them. And of course, we've heard about sponsors. They have submitted names to us. Even the security agencies have collected and even arrested some within Nigeria. But I don't know. I hope that the Attorney General is going to prosecute these people, because just locking them up and saying nothing does not help the fight against terrorism.
Dennis, and also to you, Confident. That brings me to one of the points in the president's speech early this morning, where while speaking on terrorism financing and sponsorship of violence in Nigeria, he talked about people being arrested and identified, and to quote Mr. President himself, says an identified member of quote-unquote National Assembly. What does that mean? What does that send when you hear the president give that kind of statement, especially looking at the security we have right now and how we move forward in naming and bringing them to book?
First place, it has to show more revelation in naming and shaming people who have been financing terrorism. I say that because if you look at news like the news media some weeks ago, where the United States agreed to name sponsors of Boko Haram, we have the Office of the Attorney General saying that it is not important that it was that particular claim was also corroborated by the Minister of Information, like said, there's not a chance to name and shame those who are sponsoring Boko Haram. But for the government who has clamped down heavily on the international community for not helping them stop the sponsors of terrorism in the country, it is quite founding that in America, for instance, two who have been accused of sponsoring and financing terrorism, that's sending of arms to the southeast and the border with the Allied Republic group, with the ambassador to the Republic in Cameroon at the moment, were prosecuted in the US. The United Arab Emirates also killed about 6 Nigerians last year for various degrees of financial terrorism and storing of terror groups in Nigeria. So we've had, what I'm trying to make sure we've had this international concerted effort at naming and shaming those who are accused of sponsoring Boko Haram and terror.
Right. Now, gentlemen, before we go on, let's take a look at this package that focuses on the subject matter we're currently dwelling on.
Nigerians, the first 18 months have been some of the most difficult periods in the history of Nigeria. Since the Civil War, I doubt whether we have seen a period of more heightened challenges than what we have witnessed in this period. Our original priorities for 2020 were to continue stabilizing our economy following the deep recession, while restoring peace in areas confronted with security challenges.
Right, you're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. It's all about the Nigeria's 61st Independence Day celebration, reflection, and also, if you may, projection, Oluchi and Olisa, for you this morning. It's quite a green day of patriotism, if I put it that way.
It is, and coming on the road, there's a lot of people. Today in Nigeria is a national public holiday.
Yep.
So a lot of people at home, they're resting, and they're also looking forward to hearing more things and more news, especially after the speech from the president.
All right, so our focus today will be on, we have been focusing on security and also the economy much later on this program. And we still have security expert Dennis Amakri with us this morning. And Dennis, I'm sure you heard more of the speech of President Buhari where he said, quote, since the past 18 months, we've never been, to quote him again, or to paraphrase, we've never been more polarized, especially since the civil war. Now, as we mark 61, what can the leaders now do to better the lives of our citizens and ensure that we do not become a failed state just bedeviled by insecurity?
Well, I am very happy, first of all, that the president is addressing this issue. If you remember very well, many Nigerians have been worried that the president is not saying anything. Even when they wanted the service chiefs to be removed, you remember very well. And we never heard anything from him, but he's saying something about it on the 61st birthday of anniversary of Nigeria's independence, which is significant because, first of all, you have a problem, you have to identify what it is. And after identification, then you look for ways of solving it. So I'm happy that he's really looking at it. And then, of course, also saying that there are measures, affecting the security infrastructure that he is putting in place. So I'm very optimistic because the Nigerian situation is not one that you will give up hope on. We have to keep hope alive. And I will just believe and hope that things will change because Nigerians are really tired and they really need to see a new dawn in our national life.
Right. Amakri, from the speech of the president, a lot of people were expecting him to say something about the debt that Nigeria is owing, over 33 trillion naira debt. Yet, nothing was said about that. What is your opinion concerning the Nigerians' debt increase?
Well, I think today is supposed to be a day of celebration. And, this is not a budget speech where you now start to recall the debt that we're owing. I hope that they are keeping an eye on that debt figure because it is really stretching the budget. We are borrowing money, to pay for recurrent expenditures. And that is not good. It's not good at all. So I hope they are keeping an eye on it because every country, goes into debt. But when your debt profile is bigger than your revenue, then I think it's even affecting our dollar naira ratio right now. So that's something they should keep an eye on.
All right, Dennis Amakri, before we let you go, the presidential speech clearly focused a large part on security and security in the country. We still have confidence with us, also a security analyst with SPM Intelligence. Confidence, when you watch President Buhari's speech this morning on our 61st Independence Day, and a large part of it is just filled with insecurity. What message do you think President Buhari has now sent to all of us as Nigerians?
The central point is that insecurity is something that affects everybody. And as a matter of fact, it is no longer something that affects only the ordinary man in the streets. We've seen a large case of kidnap or ransom targeted politically exposed persons with enough connections to not only the presidency but also the political parties. And so I think at this point the presidency and the president's office is not seriously. But I have to add that security as an issue only tried to address the root causes, which number one is economy. Even it puts Nigeria's economy people together in one country. It is larger than a whole lot of countries, not just Africa, but Central Europe. So you simply cannot have that large space of employed people and go to bed with your two eyes closed. It's simply not possible. So if it's the economy, if you open up the economy, you will treat at least 50% of the problem. A lot of these things are carried out. And so if you give people what to do, they'll be able to go into problems that people in a day and try to look for money to fund projects. Like
all right.
Project
well, thank you so much, Confidence. Unfortunately, we're having a bit of gremlins this morning with your network. So thank you very much for joining us, Confidence McHarry, intelligence experts with SBM Intelligence. But we still have Dennis Amakri, who joins us all the way from the US this morning for Breakfast Central. Dennis, always a regular. Now, Dennis, before we let you go, it's still a celebration. The backdrop and the mood says it all. So how are you, celebrating Nigeria's independence?
Well, I think it is worthy of celebration, but I don't think anybody is celebrating. Because if you are celebrating, it means that you don't understand what is going on in the country. People are dying. Even yesterday, we had people that were killed by these insurgents and stuff like that. Going back to the presidential speech, of course, he said that 8,000 people, Boko Haram, have surrendered. From the northeast, how about the middle, the northwest? The bandits, and all of them ravaging the whole place, all the way across the country, because this thing is not just restricted to that area. The insurgency or the threats of insecurities across the nation. So I think there is need to look into those things. And because people are not happy, how can they celebrate? They cannot celebrate at this time.
All right. Thank you so much, Dennis Amakri, for joining us on this special edition of Breakfast Central.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Happy Independence Day to you. And to Confidence McPherson, also a security analyst with SBM Intelligence. Thank you for coming on Breakfast Central this morning as we celebrate Nigeria's 61st Independence Day. Dennis, Confidence McHarry. Right, so you're watching Breakfast Central. Oluchi, well, security has clearly been on the front burner for all of us today. You look at, your excerpts on Buhari's speeches, quote upon quote upon quote upon security. But maybe we'll say there's still some cause to perhaps celebrate. Even if we're reflecting, we celebrate at least 61. We are still here.
We are still here. And I mean, I need to even give a good shout out to the security operatives all over. The ones that are staying, having sleepless nights, that are awake while we go to bed every night. I mean, for me, just this morning, I was coming and I had a flat tire, and the security operatives on the famous Third Mainland Bridge were there to my rescue. So I need to give a big shout out to all of the security operatives nationwide who were there day and night under the sun and under the rain. Well, these ones were the police force in particular.
So shout out to our men in black and blue police force. Right, it's Breakfast Central on News Central Independence Day. We know that security has been on the front burner, and the News Central team has put together this report on the state of insecurity in Nigeria.
It is that time of the year again when Nigeria celebrates her independence from colonial masters on October the 1st, 1960. 61 years on, Nigeria has fought one internal war while she is currently battling insurgency, banditry, among others, in the northeast and northwest respectively. Between 2012 and 2020, 70,000 Nigerians have been killed due to insecurity, and this has been adjudged as worrisome due to unemployment, increased bandit activities, kidnapping for ransom, and other criminal attacks that have made Nigeria an unsafe place.
What has happened to Nigeria is most unfortunate, because the security issue is not what anybody, especially a leader, can run away from. And I think that it's getting so bad that, it's overwhelming. And I'm praying that the government can be much more proactive and try. I know that it's very, very difficult, but we need to be more proactive, to deal with the security situation, because people cannot move around, for fear of either being kidnapped on the road or being killed. It's most unfortunate at this stage of Nigeria.
For retired Commissioner of Police Frank Odita, Nigerians cannot boast of being secure in the last 61 years. The security expert notes that Nigeria's security architecture is still being tested by global security challenges, such as terrorism.
At the time of independence and now, one can only say there is a lot to be done. When you come to internal security, which is the responsibility of the Nigeria police, I can tell you that the issue of personnel is inadequate. The issue of equipment is inadequate. The issue of welfare of the men themselves is inadequate.
As far as the former chairman of Ikeja Branch's Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Dave Ajetomobi, is concerned, the quality of security has dropped drastically in the country since independence, especially in the last 6 years.
I can say that the military has proven their mettle when they are giving assignment abroad, even at home. Until recently, the police has been struggling all along. And I believe the problem with the police is that we are not picking the best. If we need to get the right quality of persons, we should be ready to pay quality fund. We invest quality fund into security.
This respondent witnessed a Nigeria that was once peaceful. She believes the security challenges can be tackled.
I'm just hoping that the government will create more jobs for the young ones around. They have so many young ones unemployed, and you cannot have healthy young people roaming around without jobs. This is why you have all this kidnapping and all that, and it's getting to be so bad. It's so disgraceful. It's so disgraceful to be reading every day, one kidnap here, one kidnap there.
At 61 and still counting, it is hoped that government at all levels, including stakeholders, would bring a lasting solution to the worrisome development. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9.
All right, you're still watching News Central TV, and this is Breakfast Central. Now, every Independence Day is typically marked by colorful celebrations across different parts of the state. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this may not be possible. But we will be taking you straight to the Federal Capital Territory, where our Chief Bureau Correspondent from Abuja, Amadine Uyi, is on standby. Good morning, Amadine. How are you doing this morning? Right.
Okay.
Because of technical issues, I think we might not be able to take Amadine at this point in time, but we are trying to resolve that as soon as possible, because we do understand that at the Federal Capital Territory, that is where some form of activity may or may not be happening because of the pandemic.
Yeah, is it celebrations or sober reflection? I think that's one of the big questions a lot of Nigerians, both home and abroad, we have to say, because we are also having Nigerians who are tuned in from different parts of the globe, not just in Nigeria, and also the continent of Africa. Well, don't forget, you can follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook and also on Instagram. We're also live on YouTube, as you also watch us on Star Times channels 274, to share your thoughts on what you make of President Buhari's presidential speech, and also some of the comments there. So you can go to Facebook and drop some of those comments. We'll be taking them and reading some of them out right here on this program, Breakfast Central, as we celebrate Nigeria at 61. Right, let's go straight to Abuja and join our correspondent and Bureau Chief Amadine Uyi. All right, looks like we still can't have him. So let's go straight to Facebook and get some of those comments because I don't think Twitter is on. Though Buhari mentioned something about Twitter.
Right. He did mention that if Twitter meets the terms and conditions that has been put by the federal government, then Twitter will be open. But as we speak, we need to be sure if Twitter has met the terms and conditions placed by the federal government. All
right, so let's take some of the comments that we have been getting on our Facebook for you. Quite a lengthy one from the likes of Jibola Olusheye on Facebook. He says, well, the Chinese realize how much later that the best confidence against the enemy is not fortified wall, but a fortified character. Thus, building human character comes before building anything. He says, prayer is not everything. Build relationships and don't ever forget that God will always use man. So he's kind of having a philosophical reflection this morning on our Facebook page.
Right. We also have another message from our Facebook from Information. Now, Information is saying, Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Happy 61st Day. We wish we see better in the better Nigeria. I pray for a Nigeria where I can walk on the streets of Lagos without fears of insecurity.
All right, so we can go to Abuja now, the country's capital. Happy 61st Independence to you, Amadine Uyi. How are the celebrations or perhaps reflections going on in the Federal Capital Territory?
Well, for the residents of the Federal Capital, the city center, the independence celebration, for those in the city center, they have to stay indoors. And for those who have to transmit to the city center for whatever private work they have to do, it's been very, very difficult. If you look at this side, just behind me here, you see a lot of commuters trekking. This is because the road has been barricaded several kilometers down. So they have to trek several kilometers into the city center. Then if you also look at my left, just down there you see very high presence of security personnel. All these roads lead to the Eagle Square where the president will mark the Independence Day celebration. But I want to show you another picture. If you also come down, look down at this angle. Down at this angle, I hope you can see it because of the sun. You see another police vehicle. Vehicles like this have been mounted at strategic places of the city center, stopping people to access certain areas. So the city center, especially around the Eagle Square, is actually on a lockdown. Though there is very, very sparse movement, several roads have been opened to allow access, but you can hardly see vehicles because vehicles cannot even get to those roads.
All right, Amadine. So a high level of security presence in the city center in Abuja. But what have people been telling you this morning, Amadine? The people here are seeing walking around you. What are they saying about Nigeria's independence? What is the sentiment in the capital for people?
Some are excited, some are not so excited. I've spoken, a lot of these commuters who are trekking, they are very unhappy because though today is a public holiday for private people, they still have to come to work. You see one of them just making comments behind me. He's not happy that he has to trek. Those several are still in high spirits. They still have high spirits. They are believing, they're optimistic, believing that positive things will happen in the future. But others are judging today's independence by the hardship they are undergoing right now.
All right. Thank you so much, Amadine Uyi, Chief Bureau Correspondent, all the way from the Federal Capital Territory.
And we have, Foreign Affairs analyst Collins Weke this morning on Breakfast Central. Collins, you're a regular, so let me greet you from brother to brother. Happy 61st Independence. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. We hope that you are celebrating in some sense. So first of all, I'm sure you must have followed Buhari's speech, particularly when he talks about the economy and where we are, particularly with recession. Collins, your thoughts on Buhari, first of all.
Thank you, and happy Independence Day. I mean, no matter what, the 1st of October will always be commemorated. Some will celebrate, others will, use it as moment of reflection. Whichever one chooses, I wish every one of us, Nigerians and friends of Nigerians around the world, a happy Independence Day. President Muhammadu Buhari did what he has to do, which is try to sell Nigeria, try to sell the projects of the government that he leads. Honestly speaking, he did a very good job at it because anybody who doesn't know Nigeria pretty well, who is not conversant with economic development, the state of the security and all of that, will actually run off, gleaned from Mr. President's speech that we are dealing with a country like, every other country. But that is far from the reality. The reality is that the poverty level in Nigeria has never been higher than it is in the last couple of years. The corona virus has actually made matters worse, and we know that government did make some efforts to, ameliorate the circumstances of the poorest in the society. But again, that issue that continued to bedevil the country, which is corruption, made it impossible for, the support that was meant for the poorest of the poor to actually get to those target group. Yet, we have a government that actually, came to power on the strength of fighting corruption, on the strength of integrity. Of course, one wouldn't expect Mr. President to, actually concentrate on those failures. He is expected to talk about their plans, and those plans are very, very good. Take, for example, I'm talking about the economy. Infrastructure is part of the things that actually, improves the economy. He talked about the resuscitation of, the Presidential Infrastructural Development Fund, which is meant to, take effect in the last quarter of this year, 2021. That is fantastic. But you see, Nigeria and Nigerians are tired of hearing of, policy intentions,
Right.
hearing of policy announcements. And no, Nigerians don't believe any of those anymore until they begin to see them in action, because
Right.
infrastructure is decayed, there is little or no maintenance, and that hampers the economy even further.
Right.
Now, support for look, I can go on and on and on, but I will save you the trouble.
Well, the trouble is that this is Nigeria, by the way, and Collins, nice tie and touch of, the pin
Thank you
there.
very much.
We have joining us this morning also an economist, Gospel Obele. Gospel, morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central, and happy 61st Independence Day for Nigeria.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me. Happy Independence Day.
All right, Gospel. Now, before we go on, we are talking about the economic situation of the country, judging from the speech that President Muhammadu Buhari gave. But let's just watch this part, the focuses on the economy and what he had to say earlier on this today.
Nigeria's roadmap on local refining is on track with the commissioning of a modular refinery in Imo State. A second is scheduled for commissioning by the end of this year in Edo State, and the third one in Bayelsa State by 2022. In addition to the modular projects, we also have the two mega refinery projects coming up in Lagos and Akwa Ibom State. As these refineries are commissioned, more employment opportunities are created, and there would be increased petroleum products available for local consumption, which will significantly reduce our reliance on importation. In further demonstration, our plan to reduce our dependence on oil and tapping from our enormous gas resources, this administration remains committed to the decade of gas. Fellow Nigerians, as our economy continues to open after COVID-19 related lockdowns, we have also seen the resurgence of insecurity in certain parts of the country. In the last 4 months, the gallant men and women of the
All right, so still following all the breakdown, analysis, and talking points on Buhari's speech this morning as we celebrate Nigeria's 61st Independence Day. Yes, this is Breakfast Central. You are watching News Central. Olisa and Oluchi for you in the studio. We have Collins Nweke, a global affairs analyst, joining us, and also an economist, Gospel Obele. Now, I want to come to you, Gospel. Buhari's speech on the economy touched on so much, from Petroleum Industry Act to the reform, roadmap for refining oil, and also reducing our dependence on oil. Now, that is the good news Nigerians want to hear, don't you think, after 61 years on that crude dependence?
Yes, I agree that's the good news Nigerians want to hear, but still comes up a bit like an old news in the sense, because these are things that could have been done long ago, you know, and being the fact that there are conversations, they're still dragging up to the 61st anniversary, I mean, feels like a shame in a sense, because if you roll back to other presidential speeches, even in past administrations, in previous independence celebrations, you will still hear something similar, as it were. Even the manifestos, you hear something similar. So, yeah, it's what Nigerians want to hear. You know, Nigerians are very hopeful people. So it's very easy to sell the idea of hope. All right, but hope itself is very good, but still not a strategy. And in terms of the commitment required, you know, to transit beyond political statements to actions that deliver for inclusive growth.
Right. Now, Gospel, let me still ask you this question. There's been a lot of borrowing from this present dispensation under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari. I mean, just a few days ago, we heard that World Bank has just given Nigeria $750 million loan. Now, what risk is involved in all of this, Obele?
All right, so interesting to note that no nation that has grown significantly into the advanced stage of the economy has done that without a budget deficit in a sense. So from a very surface level, borrowings are not bad. All right, what makes it bad are the nature of spendings or, in quote, investments that these monies are being used for. All right, and if you look at the government budget spread and all that, you can see the heavy weight on debt servicing as well as recurrent expenditure, and little or not much on capital expenditure. Even if you look at the budget implementation reports, all right, over the years, you would see that we usually hit the recurrent expenditure mark and do not even achieve up to 50% of the capital expenditure. So that's to tell you that the risk associated with borrowing is the fact that we do not have productive pipelines through which those monies have gone through such a way that the returns on those investments will be positive enough to secure development as well as to service or repay back those debts. Also, secondly, to note that Nigeria is currently in a tough revenue crisis, and some of these borrowings have been targeted towards core infrastructure projects, which, quite frankly, some of which we've seen. All right, we're talking about the railway infrastructure project between Lagos and Ibadan, and there are conversations that there will be ports projects even within that portfolio and all of that. So the risk it makes in a sense, the next generation of leaders would likely undertake a very huge debt burden that I don't see how possible it will be in terms of escaping that, as well as even the states have their own conversation around need for bailouts and all of that. So it puts the nation at a dire financial and investment risk going forward, and that would be a very bad place to be in terms of attracting foreign direct investment going in the subsequent years.
All right, thank you very much, Gospel Obele. We still have you right here on the program with us, but I want to come to you, Collins Nweke, Global Affairs Analyst. Now, there was not really much said in terms of Nigeria's debt servicing from Buhari's speech, but looking at what Gospel just talked about, is not how you borrow, is perhaps the recurrency of how you borrow. And many will say that this administration, well, in terms of, look like addicted to borrowing, just like what you have when people can't stay away from crack or some of those things. But where do we get out of this? How can Nigeria's economy rebound from all this?
Well, first and foremost, I want to look at it from two perspectives. Perspective number one is indeed the attitude of Nigeria towards borrowing. Like Gospel mentioned, borrowing in itself is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, borrowing can actually be a very, very positive thing. But indeed, what you do with the money that you borrow is, the cardinal point there. Now, that's on the Nigerian side in terms of, being able to get their acts together as regards to what they borrow for. And I mean, if you are borrowing not to service existing debt, but to actually increase the productive capacity, well, then you can be sure that the return on investment is going to be high, and then you are not going to run into trouble, more especially increasing the debt burden on the next generation. So the mentality change and more strategic economic planning is required on the part of Nigeria. But then on the part of the lending institutions, the World Bank in this instance, also is a question to look at very, very critically, because they don't have any business borrowing when Nigeria cannot show proof that they have the capacity to actually repay. And then the third strand of it is the next generation on whose back these debts are being accumulated. I mean, they need to stand up more than they have ever done before. It's not going to be easy, but this is a burden that they don't have to bear, and they need to be louder in letting the government know that they disagree with this, and government should be more responsible.
And he talked really well about the refineries. I mean, he mentioned about 5 states: Imo State, Edo State, Bayelsa State, Lagos State, and Akwa Ibom State, and the plans on how refineries will be brought out from the state. Now, let's not forget, we already have 4 refineries that are more or less not functioning properly. How well do you think we can handle 5 more when we have 4 who have 0 to nothing to prove to us so far? Collins, I won't start with you.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, that's it. It's part of that, lack of adequate planning. I mean, dig deeper, and you might find that, the purpose of the extra refineries that are being talked about, has to do with the fact that it serves the interest of, the ruling class, the elites of Nigeria, who have actually, supported it because ultimately it will pay off to them individually and not, the national economic interest. So yes, I agree with your summation that they ought to inject more capital into the existing ones that have either gone marabout or in fact, that are completely useless. They should do something resuscitating them rather than, establishing new one. That's one. And then secondly, the fact of injecting impetus in the non-oil sector, I think is a very, very important thing that they have always talked about, but never managed to realize. I believe that, such a fund meant for the refineries could be redirected into injecting impetus in the non-oil sector, because the slight growth of the economy witnessed in the last period actually came mainly from the non-oil sector. So I think they should do more work on that rather than the wasteful spending on projects that are due to fail.
Yeah, thank you so much, Collins Wake. But I have to come to you, economics gospel, Obele. So I'll give you the final words on Buhari's points on economic diversification strategy and recovery from the economic recession, which his administration has led us to twice. So far, so good. Your thoughts?
The economy has been recovering quite technically. If you look at the GDP numbers, you see how sectors have been picking up. But significantly, these sectors have picked up because they are largely resilient sectors in themselves. So business activities in those sectors have grown to become more resilient than of taking from a significant government support, all right, in terms of that recovery process in itself. So we've seen that the government needs to rework its social intervention towards recovery to ensure that it's targeted at the critical mass of business who actually needs it. So,
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time this morning, and happy Independence Day 61st for you. Gospel Obele, economist, and Collins Weke, Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on Breakfast Central on our 61st Independence Anniversary.
Thank you. Happy Independence.
All right, you're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. We're moving straight to the Center of Excellence, Lagos State, where we have our reporter, Bernard Akede, standing by. Good morning, Bernard. Happy Independence.
Good morning, Lord. Good morning, Melissa. Happy 61st Independence Day to you and, of course, to all Nigerians at home and abroad.
All right, Bernard, I wonder where in Lagos particularly you are, and what's the scenes like this morning?
Well, Melissa, you don't want that too much. I've been here several times, and I'm here again. I'm at Abuja, just by the Refinery Park. The scene of famous June 12 protest where I was a few months ago. And well, Nigerians are going about their daily businesses, doing their thing. Traffic is not as heavy as usual. We've been able to see certain people go and jump, some walking, and even came by cycling good for psychology. So some actually the freedom of the road to exercise. But it seems like there might be some drama rules. Now, girls look at me that there might be a protest here today again. So it's almost like we strike right to the same thing. Now I'm going to think over to my right so you can see Refinery Park. Right there, sitting in the park, if you stand beyond traffic, you can see gentlemen sitting on the bed. One is wearing the white face cap, and the other one is wearing grey t-shirt, the backpack. Apparently, I'm able to recognize one of them, the one with the backpack. He was here at the time of the protest. As a matter of fact, he was on the leader. So I'm suspecting that there just might be another occurrence here, like we strike right to take place. I'm sorry for myself because I didn't get them, and I'm not just for the case, so if I have to run, I'll have to pull up my clothes.
Right. Now, Bernard, before we let you go, can you tell us about the security presence in that axis, that is Ojota, where you are?
The security operations, they have indicated that there's been some disturbance here. So, around yesterday, this security presence, not heavy as for that, but heavy as the police officers here armed, some not armed, and we have also able to identify some plainclothes police officers as well. Yes, probably anticipating that there might be some civil disturbance. So to enforce law and order, they have been on ground. A lot of them.
All right, thank you very much, Bernard Akeda, our correspondent out there in Ojota in Lagos State, the Center of Excellence, as they call it.
Case has been postponed until the 14th of October when both the defense and the state will make closing arguments, and then there will probably be a judgment.